Hi everyone, and welcome to Isamu Rat Care. We've got another make and do today for our 12 days of enrichment feeding challenge. So today it's going to feature the good old egg box, something which I have quite a large one for a change. Normally only has 6 boxes, but being Christmas we're getting through a lot more than normal. These make excellent forms of enrichment feeding. They're really good for the rats to kind of chew into, depending how you display them. The reason why I'm doing this one today is to show that it's not just dry food that you can do enrichment feeding with. So today is the day that I'm going to be giving my girls some wet meals. And I give them wet meals probably every week or two, and I use them to kind of add various supplements. So I'll just cover some of the basic supplements that I'm going to add to this. So what I'm going to be giving them today is this yummy looking feast of mush. So it is Fish for Dogs finest Norwegian herring and potato. So I use quite a few kind of wet dog foods for this kind of thing. They're reasonably high in protein, but it's okay as an occasional kind of meal. It helps me boost their overall diet. That's really good because it's very high in omega-3 oils, which is great for the rat's coat and their skin and everything else. There's also a fair amount of things like vitamin D in it, which is very useful. They quite like fishy foods. It's not always amusing in the rat room shortly afterwards as everything smells of fish, but they really enjoy it, and as the rat room is not in my house, that also helps things a fair bit. So I'm going to be mixing that up. So let's move the egg box out of the way. Supplements. So one of the major reasons I do feed wet foods is because of the ability to kind of stick to supplements. So today, because I feed a straits-based diet, at least in part, and that's a diet that doesn't have a lot of vitamins and minerals sprayed on it like most commercial pet foods do. You'll see it if you watch one of my mix videos, in fact the more complex mix video, the second one. So I occasionally have to give supplements. This is a great little powder that's a mixture of copper, vitamin D and calcium, which are 3 things that are regularly kind of deficient in grain-based mixes. So I'm going to add a bit of this. Each of these holds about 3 rat doses, but because I don't supplement them often, I'll give them a bit more than their kind of allotted amount, because much like humans, rats don't have to have all their vitamins and minerals in one go. They just have to have it over like a shortish period of time, let's say about a week. So that's how it works for mine. So they're getting plenty of vitamins to top them up. What I also regularly give them is this, this is Seaweed Powders. So this contains all sorts of minerals and such, and is kind of really good for them, particularly for kind of when you've got young and growing ones. Currently I'm trying some Nutritional yeast flakes. So this is high in kind of B vitamins, but also high in folic acid and such, and because Mog is hopefully pregnant, I want to make sure that she's getting plenty of that. It also contains zinc and such, so it's going down quite well. It's a bit of a new one for me, so I'm going to see how it goes. They quite like the taste. I quite like baking with it, so I have it in anyway. And then finally I've got some salmon oil. So I alternate between salmon oil and linseed oil. I decided to use salmon this time. Again, it's a bit of a boost on the vitamin D type of thing, goes with the fish. I don't give it very often. You have to watch salmon oil. You don't want to give it more than once a week because it's quite high in vitamin A and you can get vitamin A toxicity. But it's kind of fine for this. So I just put a little bit over there. Right, so I'll mush that all up. And that'll be the wet meal that I want to try and hide in their egg box piñata. So I'm just trying to make sure that the supplements aren't just in one place, because some of them, I wouldn't say they taste nasty, but they're not as yummy as some other things. So like anything that's too high in seaweed powders tends to taste a bit iodine-y. You can smell it when you add it to things. So I don't want there to be a big clump, because I'll then not bother eating the seaweed powder, the other tasty stuff. Right, so we have the mush. So one of the things that I like about egg boxes is you've got lots of different compartments, and the rats have to break into each of them to get into stuff. So I'm going to try and vary a little bit what goes in each compartment. The other advantage is because it's like this cardboardy stuff, it also absorbs the smell, so the rats can smell how tasty it is and like want to get in straight away. So I'm going to put it in like random little containers here, maybe not that random. So that they have to break into multiple containers, and then I'm going to put other things in the other containers, so it gives me a bit of kind of excitement. I'll save some of this as well for my visiting rats that are stopping over, so they can have some as well. Right, so We have plenty of wet food in there, every other compartment, and I'm going to put some other stuff in the other compartments. So we've got some spring greens here, so they're just dark green leafy veg, which is a great kind of form of veg for them. Again, I don't give veg every day, but I give it occasionally, maybe once or twice a week. Depends on the rats and their needs. So I'm not going to put these in all the things, because I've got something else exciting to go in the other ones. Just get it in there. And then I've got some kiwi fruit, which is a bit of a treat for them. I don't think they've had kiwi before, but there was some at the supermarket recently, so I thought I'd get them some. And again, this will soak nicely into the egg box, which will help encourage them to tear into it. So there we have it. Close it all up. And what I'm going to then do is get trusty garden wire. I use this a lot. This is going to make it a little bit more challenging than yesterday's crackers. I want them to have to work to it a bit. So what I'm looking for is, I'm going to be tying this to the cage bars. So a couple of long lengths of garden wire. Garden wire is great. If you don't already own a roll as a rat owner, you really should, because you're going to attach all sorts to it. It's just kind of thin, little green stuff. They can chew through it. There is thicker stuff, but the thicker stuff is a little bit hard to get through it yourself. I always keep a roll of this in, and it's kind of one of my essentials. Right, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to attach it to the cage, and then we'll film their response, and hopefully they will oblige and tear into it like they did the crackers yesterday. So here's me and our 7 girls, and we have the installed, sorry, they're all desperate to eat. We're at the installed egg box, so we shall see what they make of it. They were very interested when I first put it in there, so I made sure to let it out. What's this? What's this, girls? So I've tried to make it reasonably tall here, so that they have to kind of work somewhat to get into it. And they're now all, clearly they can smell what's going on there. And so they have to try and break into it, which just involves using their teeth, clawing, biting, any way they can. Particularly if you notice Mug here, right at the here, is particularly interested, aren't you, Muggles? She is pregnant, so she is got a bit more of a drive. Now she just wants fuss. Go on, I can see you, Chocobo. Chocobo just wants to play, because Chocobo's Chocobo. Go on, girls. And so does Tato. Don't you have to bite it? Look, Ellie's got the idea. Now it's quite tough, this box, which is good, because it means that they'll spend a bit longer at it. But we can see that both Mog here and actually Ellie at the back have started to get the idea. So Mog now has a tiny little hole. I'm hoping this will keep them busy for a few hours before they completely destroy and empty it. Go on, look what Mog's done. Others are trying to open it because they're quite used to, mine are quite used to having to open things to get food. We'll probably look at that kind of treat later on. Let's see how they do with that. Mog is working out quite a decent sized hole now, which he's guarding from all the vultures that have surrounded to try and steal her hard work. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can have a better view. The good thing about this kind of enrichment feeding as well is, much like when you're scatter feeding, they will eat what they find, regardless of what that happens to be, because it's so exciting, they've worked so hard to get at it. So even like, if they didn't love this particular kind, let's say they're not mad on veg and you want to encourage them to eat veg, by putting it in something like this that they have to work at, it suddenly becomes that much more exciting. And as you can see, everybody's kind of tucking in there and very much enjoying themselves. Fights do break out, but that's kind of part of them being a kind of active, engaging group, and they're not injuring each other, they just all want their fair share. Right, so I might leave them to this now, because it's going to take them a while to get into every little compartment. I'll try and get photo of the aftermath tomorrow if there's anything left at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they get this off the cage side and there's just pieces of egg crate all over the place. Right, so bye for now from me and the girls, and we shall see you tomorrow.